Hello and welcome to the Blues Podcast. I'm Big Boy Bloater. With me today, a very special guest. I'm very excited about this because I caught his video a few years back and I've been a big fan ever since. I know Adam, our producer, is as well, and I'm sure you guys listening are all big fans. He's been called the new master of slide guitar by the one and only Bootsy Collins. If that ain't fantastic, I don't know what is. Please, come on, put a round of applause for the one and only Jack Broadbent. Hello, Jack. How you doing?
I'm very well, man. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I'm going to get onto the video bits and pieces where I first saw you later on, but I always like to start these things right at the very beginning and go right back as far as you can remember, really. I know you grew up in Lincolnshire, rural Lincolnshire.
That's right.
And I believe your dad was a musician. Your dad was a musician, and is that what kind of got you into blues music in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, he always left his guitars lying around close enough for me to find them, and the record collection was, just tucked behind those. So that was, that was kind of tempting enough. But then we play a lot together too, so that kind of that sealed the deal for me,
So what kind of age were you then when you were picking up the guitar?
I was sort of flirting with it from being about 10 years old, maybe 10, 11. And before that, I really loved to play drums, but I'd never played I'd never really had a melodic instrument, but I was definitely like rhythm based,
Yeah. And what kind of stuff were you kind of getting drawn into at that point? What was the sort of entry point of music for you?
I guess the starting point for interest in the blues was sort of like watching the Blues Brothers and seeing John Lee Hooker for the first time, and that was really that was it, man. When I saw John Belushi looking that cool and singing along, and then you get that little glimpse of John Lee Hooker and playing Boom Boom or whatever. It was like, wow,
that's a great clip, isn't it? That really
game
is.
Over, yeah.
I think there's an extended version of that, isn't there?
There is
a lot more of it.
See it, yeah. It's one of my favourite swings.
It's really good. Yeah, he sounds so good in that. It's just really, really, really raw and great.
Yeah.
So you started off on the drums. I mean, like I said, your dad was a musician as well. Yeah. Did he encourage you on the drums in the first place?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think my first kit was probably from my dad's drummer, and I used to play a little bit with some bands that my dad was playing with, blues bands around Grimsby, mate, that was the first blues I really heard, was that kind of like down the pub, shit kicking blues.
Yeah.
So
and the rest is history.
Yeah.
You started going along to jams and playing guitar as well. Was it what guitar were you playing first off? I know you said your dad's guitar.
My dad's got a nice Strat, and my dad's left-handed upside down. So all his guitars, when I play them, I look like Jimi Hendrix the wrong way around type thing,
Right.
I sort of gravitated more though towards acoustic guitar because I like to play folk music as well. So I didn't really play too much electric guitar in the earlier days,
Yeah, that's interesting because I mean, doing the podcast for a little while now,
right?
Always have the chat of guitarists, and it seems that the majority of them are like, well, I wanted to play guitar, and my parents got me an acoustic guitar, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted an electric guitar, but you're the other way around. So that's. So what was it? Was it just purely the folk thing, or was you just want to be different, or just
like tonally? I wanted to sit and play something I could write songs on, and I didn't want to have to plug the thing in every 5 minutes. I guess I mean, my evolution as a guitar player was really born out of the songwriting, not out of any formal lessons. Or I'd ask my dad for a chord, he'd give me a chord, I'd go and write 3 songs out of it and go, right, I've used up D now. Have you got any more?
Oh, there's got to be lots in D, hasn't it? Surely. So let's talk a little bit about the songwriting, because I know that's kind of what you were really interested in, isn't it? I mean, what inspired you? Was it purely like, I've got loads of ideas and I want to get them out, or was it? Do you know what? If you want to get anywhere in the music business, you've got to be a songwriter.
Yeah. It wasn't commercially driven. Let's put it that way. It was definitely a feeling. I mean, you got to remember when I was growing up. I mean, I was listening to like Radiohead and I don't know, Blur and stuff like that back in the 90s. You know, so for me, especially like Tom York, I think had a profound effect on me in terms of that, just in terms of a release. You know, it felt like he kind of gave me a boost in terms of expression, I guess.
Yeah,
I think he in turn was massively influenced by Neil Young, and that's another influence of mine. You know, so it was
right.
it was interest in the art, I guess.
Yeah, just touching on Neil Young there, we should maybe mention about the Spotify thing. But obviously, Neil Young at the moment is having a little bit of a pop at Spotify. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's funny actually because a minute ago I was chatting with my girlfriend and we were talking about like putting orders together for songs, and I was trying to remember what order he'd placed a particular song on a record, and I went, "Oh, I'll just check," and I went on Spotify and it wasn't on there, and I thought that's pretty cool. You know,
Yeah.
I'll have to check. You know, I'll have to check the album sleeve.
Yeah, you'll have to physically go and get the record and yeah. So I take it you're a Spotify user then. I mean, you know, how do you feel generally about the whole business in that way?
Well, I mean, without making a sort of like a definite statement about it, I can see, you know, there are lots of ways to get your music out there. There's lots of ways to display it. You know, Spotify's just one way of doing it, and
Yeah,
and if it's not for you, then you know it's. I don't think it has to be the be and end all of it. You know.
yeah, yeah.
And for someone
I
in
guess
Neil's
so.
position, you know, that's a hell of a statement. If I take my music off Spotify tomorrow, it's not so much a statement. Is it really more of a hindrance? You know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think unless you're of someone of that status, you've got to just keep on plugging away wherever you can, really, haven't
Well,
you?
it's a
So,
great tool in
yeah,
terms of people for people to discover stuff. I discover stuff all the
yeah,
time through it, you know. So
yeah, me too. Yeah,
I can't really hold the moral high ground. If you're going to use a service,
yeah,
then you know.
yeah. But they could pay us a little bit more, though, right? I mean, you know,
Yeah, can you get on that?
wouldn't hurt them too much, would it?
Who do we
Yeah,
talk to
I'll have
about
a
that?
word, shall I? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have a word. I'll see if I can pull a few
Funny,
strings.
you'd have thought someone would have said something by now, right?
Yeah, yeah. It might have been mentioned. It might have come up somewhere in a meeting or something. But
Yeah.
yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your slide guitar playing because it was
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that really caught my attention when I first heard you, saw you, and because I saw my first introduction to you was that the busking video in
Oh
Amsterdam, I
yeah, yeah.
think, where you're doing the down the road. No, what's the song?
On the road again.
On the road again. God, I couldn't think of the bloody title. Then on the road again. I really, yeah, I was absolutely transfixed. I mean, I loved. How did because you were playing the slide guitar, you were playing it kind of on your lap. It was just
Yeah,
like a National Resonator type thing,
that's right.
and you had a chrome hip flask, right, that you were using for the slide.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that come about? Was that just necessity because you like lost the bottleneck, or was it like, man, this sounds good, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, it was sort of born out of necessity, I suppose. But there's also, you know, it's a completely different attack. You know, if you hold a bottleneck, if you pinch a slide, it's all very much in your fingers. Whereas if you're holding
Yeah.
it in your hand, it kind of it sort of emphasizes the tendency to be a bit more aggressive with it, which I thought was
Right.
kind of like something a bit different, and I liked that I could
Yeah.
hit it that hard. I had to kind of sacrifice the guitar I use in the sense that all the frets are all the bashed up and stuff, but
Yeah.
I used that one specifically for slide, and I still got the same flask I used in that video.
Oh, nice. Is
Um,
it? Is it? Has it still got any drink in it?
no, I put a hole in it, so but
Oh,
one could argue it was the best thing that ever happened to me the day I put a hole in that flask.
should I ask? Can I ask how you why did you put a hole in it? Was it on purpose or by
Oh
accident?
no, just from using it, but I broke the lid off it.
Oh, okay.
But it's great because it's got so many lacerations in the side of it. It kind of almost it becomes its own, like a violin bow. You can kind of just shake it
Right.
and it starts to swell the sound. So
Yeah.
it's very much a tool.
Yeah. It's a fantastic sound. It really is. And like I say, it was one of the things that really grabbed my attention when I first came across you. It's
Right.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about guitars as well, because I know you're a bit of a guitar collector, right? You sort of favour the vintage stuff a little bit more than the newer stuff,
Yeah,
shall we say?
yeah. I've got a couple of Hofners that are my sort of like my touring my girls, you know. But I've got some nice bits that I picked up along the way. I've got a resonator, you know, and I've got a Les Paul and a couple of nice old Gibsons. But I just
Yeah.
find that for live stuff and for my style, the Hofners, they can really take a battering, and the tone's just fantastic. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the guitar's built to last, not like these days, but there you go.
There you go.
Let's not get into that old chestnut, eh? um, I want to go back to Lincolnshire briefly, because I want to know how you made the jump from Lincolnshire to like ending up travelling around Europe and busking all over the place.
Right.
Was it just a general sort of slow slide, or was it something like, do you know what, I've got to get out the door, I've got to go on
Well,
the road again?
yeah. I mean, I moved to London, and I got a job in a bar, you know, working at the Hope and Anchor actually in Islington.
Oh yeah,
And I really liked it being in a music pub and stuff. But I just found that I just wanted to be playing more, and and so I tried busking, and I remember taking an acoustic guitar out on the street in Islington, no amplifier, and just trying to bash out
yeah,
my songs, and realised quite quickly it wasn't really going anywhere. And I went back to Lincolnshire one time, and a friend of mine was busking, and he had one of those little Roland cubes, and he was going off for lunch, and he said, "Oh well, just sit and have a play if you want." And so I just sat and realised I could have my reverbs on, I could get a nice, you know, nice vibe, and I made $100. So I went, "Oh well, I'll
wow,
use the money," and I bought one of those amps, and that was it, you know. So in terms of that got me rocking in London, and then from there I went down to Brighton, and then after that, you know, I could just looking out on the sea. I was thinking, well, France is next, you know.
So how long did you spend kind of hoboing around playing music?
Quite probably. I think I did about a year consistently in the back of a Volvo. You know,
Yeah.
driving around, sleeping in the car, playing. You know, that Amsterdam video. I was living in a car basically at the time. You know, and but I'd already done a couple of trips around Europe, so I kind of knew I knew the route. You know, that I wanted to do, and yeah, it was a joy to go and play in Berlin, Amsterdam, Barcelona. You know.
If you're enjoying the Blues podcast, then make sure to follow the Spotify playlist Blues Meets Rock. Not only is it filled with great contemporary blues artists, it also features all the guests we've had here on the Blues podcast. So head over to Spotify and follow Blues Meets Rock to take a listen. And now, back to our guest on the Blues podcast. I think coming back, I mean, started recording albums. I know
Mm.
some of the albums you've recorded fairly recently have been like on like handheld
Mm.
recorders, almost kind of thing, like
Yeah,
digital recorders and that kind of thing. Pretty much recorded on the road as well. I mean,
yeah,
do you ever get home much?
yeah. Well, I mean, I sort of live out of a suitcase really, but you know, I've been spending time in Canada in the last over the last sort of 7 years, and
Yeah,
during the lockdown, especially, I recorded another record. But I do like the sound of home recordings. You know, I'm not really one for going into big studios, spending a load of money. I don't think you really need to. You know, if you've got the vibe and
yeah,
if it's roots music, it kind of it lends itself better for that.
yeah.
But yeah, I did the first two records on a little Zoom H4n, and used it like a 4-track, really. You know.
That's great. I mean, I know you said you're not really one for going into a studio, but would you ever? I mean,
Oh, I'm not ruling it
is there?
out, but you know, I think it really, at the end of the day, I think it's more down to personnel than it is down to what studio you're using. I mean, like
Yeah,
the technology is now is so available anywhere that really, I think these studios are, unless you're doing something that warrants that type of production, they're kind of redundant.
I want to go back and talk a little bit about your dad, because I know he's been playing bass guitar for you
Yeah.
lately. Is that right? I mean, how's that working out?
Well, it's great. Like I said, we've been doing that since I was a young'un, and it's intuitive. It's borderline telepathic. We don't really have to discuss anything. I can write a song and know what he's going to play before I've even heard him play it. So for me and him, we seldom rehearse, and because we kind of want to keep that live spark when we do play. We just got back from Jamaica. We were on tour with Little Feat, and that was like a big childhood full circle for me, because that's my dad's favorite band. He brought me up listening to. Lowell George is my hero, So that was a hell of a trip.
I bet it was. Wow. Do you get any songwriting done out there? Does it affect? Do you find where you are and where you're writing affects the vibe of your writing differently?
Yeah. I mean, on the road, I generally kind of just try and document as many ideas as possible, get them all recorded down, get the lyrics down. But I didn't really have time to sort of like sit and complete things. But now I'm having a bit of time off. I'm in Nashville for a week, and I find actually being in Nashville is quite an inspiring place. As you can see, I'm out in the countryside, just out of the madness, about 3 minutes downtown. But there's something about the fact that that within a 5-mile radius, there's probably 10,000 songs being written as we speak in this area. It's kind of it definitely has an impact.
Yeah. It really is kind of music central, isn't it, in Nashville? I mean, it's like you say, there's a songwriter every 10 steps. Have you got any plans to collaborate with people out there at all, or anything?
Well, as and when I'm meeting people, if someone catches my attention, I was fortunate enough when we did the Jamaica stuff. Me and my dad, we played with Ken Gradney and Sam Clayton from Little Feat. They got up and joined us for a tune. So if any of the Little Feat boys want to do anything, I'd be up for
that. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Did you have a word? Did you?
Yeah.
So, what saying about if there's anyone that catches your attention out there, you might hook up and write. What is it that would catch your attention these days? What sort of thing makes you sit up? And is there anyone specific you're kind of watching at the moment, thinking, "Wow, that's
Well, I guess it's got to be something in the. If it's somebody on an instrumental level, I guess it's just something about someone's playing that has a charm to it that you're not going to get anywhere else. I mean, Bill Payne, the piano player for Little Feat, is the prime example. I mean, he's the greatest pianist I've ever heard, and I think that the biggest part of that is just how unique his approach is. So in terms of writing, I'm not really interested in collaborating with anybody else, because I kind of like to sort of use my own voice. But in terms of other people bringing a color to the material, it's usually someone who's got like just a little something different about their playing. I think that's got to be it.
Do you find yourself quite sort of guarded about your music and kind of thing? It's like you want to take the control of it, and
Well, I mean,
it's your way.
I mean, like in the studio and stuff like that, I'm pretty much I know what I'm looking for, But I am open to collaboration in terms of it's always worth a conversation. If someone's got an idea, my friend who helped me with my last record, his sort of motto was like all we've got to lose is time. It's worth a try. Give it a try.
Yeah. I mean, going completely the opposite direction. I mean, I know you're sort of quite a bit of a multi-instrumentalist, playing drums and guitar. Have you ever thought about doing an album just solely by yourself and playing everything? Is that something that would appeal to you?
Well, that's what the first few records were,
right?
And I like that, but particularly with percussion, I've noticed, it depends on who's driving the car. Like if I write a guitar song, and then choose to add percussion as a sort of accompaniment, then that's one thing. But certain music, I like to like to be able to have the foundations there, you know, and I suppose that's where it comes in with the collaboration is like, that's nice to be able to sort of let go of the wheel a little bit and sort of backseat drive, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Have a little nap back there.
Yeah, that's it. Why not? You
know? Yeah. You're working on a new album at the moment. How is that different from previous stuff? How do you find you move it on? How are you developing things?
Well, the new record I've actually completed, and that was recorded pretty remotely in the sense that it was during the lockdown. We had to react to circumstance. So me and the drummer kind of we recorded everything live and then sent the songs to the UK. My dad put the bass on, sent them back, and we mixed and mastered it. Like I touched on before, the sort of telepathic nature of me and my dad's, working relationship meant that there wasn't really any back and forths. Everything was first takes. So I'm still using the same kind of process that I always have, really, of just trying to capture things in its immediacy, get things down without too many attempts at it, trying to just keep it real. And there's very, very little in the way of overdubs or anything like that, just trying to get a vibe, really. And and now that record's done, I'm working on the next one. So
right. And am I right in thinking that the vibe is heading a little bit more rock and roll?
There's a full band on this record, full band sound. So 3-piece with like little overdubs, but I wanted to do something that was kind of a little bit more with a bit more continuity running through it. Whereas in the past, I'll generally put a mixture of ballads and groove pieces on. This one's full groove,
Yeah. How do you find putting an album together? Do you really like plan meticulously the order of the tracks, or is it just like, you know what, that just sounds good with that, I'm going to go with that?
Yeah, I sort of don't really pay much attention to it in the recording process. What's funny about the latest one is that my dude who I was doing it with, he'd send me the tracks over, not in any order or whatever, and I just listened to them. I actually put them in an order, sent them back, and he said, "Oh, that's really funny. That's the chronological order that we recorded the songs in."
Oh, really?
And I thought that was interesting, because what it essentially said to me was, we'd go in each day and go like, right, what are we going to do today? And I think what we were consciously doing was like, well, we did that kind of vibe yesterday, so let's do this one today. And I think it meant that we were kind of we were essentially putting the order together naturally as we were doing it, in terms of keeping it interesting for ourselves.
Yeah. Recording's all good and all that, new album in the can, working on the next one. That's good to hear. How about touring? Because I mean, it's been pretty tough lately, right? With the pandemic and that sort of thing. I mean, as a guy who seems to like to move around a fair bit and play here and there and everywhere, how have you been getting on with that?
Well, I've done a couple of US tours. I've done 2 with Little Feat and 1 on my own, and the Jamaica trip. And I think the world's kind of ready for it, but I mean, the protocol is definitely affecting. I can't go out and sign stuff and meet people in the same way that I used to enjoy. But it's definitely great to be out playing. The people that want to go out and watch live music are really ready for it. So I'm doing it for them,
Yeah. Where's next on the world map for touring? Is there anywhere you haven't been yet that you really want to go?
Well, in terms of this year, I'm coming over to Europe, which will be the first time in 2 years. So I'm excited about that, and I'm going to be playing at the Black Deer Festival in the UK. And then I think we're going to put some dates around that, and possibly some in Europe as well. And then I'll be back to the States, sort of in the fall. And I've got a few dates with I got a run of dates when my record comes out. That'll be like New York City, East Coast, and then I'm doing a couple more shows with Little Feat as well.
Nice. And anywhere that you'd really love to go that you haven't been yet?
Well, I've been quite a lot of places now. There's a lot of places I'd love to go back to. I really enjoyed Japan. That was an amazing audience there, and New Zealand and Australia. That's cool. But I mean, if they set me up a tour in India, that might be nice.
How is the blues scene in India? Any idea?
I don't know. But I could get into that. Get a bit of play some
You could be the
slide.
man that takes it there.
Play some slide sitar.
I'm sure it's. I don't know if it's been done before or not, but it sounds interesting. I reckon they go for it.
Doesn't it make you just want to get a sitar out, eh?
Too many strings. I couldn't understand it. I don't know. It looks like a crazy instrument.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's coming next. A slide sitar tour of India.
You heard it here first, folks. They'll all be doing it in a couple of years' time. It's yeah.
No, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that's copyrighted. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I always like to put in this big killer question for the guests on the Blues Podcast here. So I'm going to run this by you now, and it's a bit of a crazy question. So just bear with it if you can, and try your best to answer it.
Go on.
I want you to imagine that it's far in the future. You've had a great career, fantastic time, been making records, been all over the world a million times, and all the way back again. And then we get the news that there's a big, massive meteorite coming, and it's going to just completely pulverize the whole of the Earth. It's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Dust. So, it's like, oh, damn.
It's like,
you get a phone
no.
call. Yeah, bummer. Yeah. You get a phone call anyway from the world president, because there's a world president now who's like, keeping everybody happy and all that. And he or she, or it might even be a robot, I don't know. But anyway, the world president says to you, Jack, listen, I'm sure you've heard the terrible news about this meteorite, and it's going to, it really sucks and all that. But listen, we thought if the human race is going to go out, we're going to go out with a big, big party. And we'd like you to come and play at that party. And the question basically is, who's going to be in your band for the party, and what song are you going to play for the end of the world?
The end of the world. All right, I'll take Mick Broadbent, Ken Gradney, Sam Clayton, Bill Payne, and Fred Tackett, me. I think I'll have my sister singing backing vocals, and we'll all sing Willin'.
Well, you did that very easily. Most people kind of like go, oh man, too much. But you just rolled it up. Have you thought about this before? Is this something you dream about or something?
Well, the funny thing is, like I said, we just did that thing with that tour with Little Feat and went to Jamaica and had that experience. I hadn't seen my parents in 2 years, and the first gig we did, me and my dad sat down and played Willin' with half of Little Feat. I mean, like,
right.
If it had been the end of the world, then that would have been the gig.
Right, yeah.
Now we've got to find a way to top that,
Yeah. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. I'm not sure how you're going to do it, but good luck.
Yeah. That's it. What would you play?
What would I play?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know, I always think, every time I ask this question, everybody always comes out with these fantastic bands, great lineups. And I always think, if I was in that band, I'd just sit down and watch it, because I'd be like, it's the greatest lineup ever. So I just basically sit down and watch and go, wow, that was good. Oh look, there's a big rock. Okay, and that would be it. Yeah, a couple of beers, I'd be happy. Really, that'd be fine by me.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh well, the end of the world, eh? Oh, on that bombshell, yeah, I want to say, Jack, thank you so much for talking to us, man. I hope you continue doing your touring and traveling around. I'm going to try and catch you if you're ever coming back through France. Let me know. I'm going to come and catch you.
Absolutely, and thanks very much for having me, and thanks for everyone who's tuning in. It's been a real pleasure.
Hey, it's been great, Jack. Take it easy, man. Catch you soon.
Peace out.
Thank you for joining us on the Blues Podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And also make sure you leave us a review and a rating, as this helps other people find the Blues Podcast. I'll catch you next time. Bye.